This is your host, Tia. This is your host, Tia. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Top 10. Live. Geek Vibes Nation. Geek Vibes Nation. Nation. The Top 10. The Top 10. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you decide to listen to this podcast, hopefully you're just listening to it. This is the Top 10 with Tia for Geek Vibes Nation. And as always, I'm your host, Tia, and I have with me the amazing Brittany. Brittany, how are you doing this morning?
Say I'm good. Really ready for Watch American Gods later.
Yes. So if you have been I'm hoping there's fans of us, of our show, but so if you've been a fan or a listener of the Top 10, you know that Brittany and I are uber American Gods fans, and they just came out with a new episode today, which is Sunday. And yeah, so that's exciting. If you haven't been watching that, you definitely should, because it's a great show.
I would say it's one of the only things that I feel like it's very few and far between that you ever run into anybody that's like, oh, I just hate mythology.
Yeah, mythology is so interesting to me because it expands just so many worlds and cultures. I mean, there's so much you can do with it. And whatchamacallit, I'll say really quick about American Gods. There was a punk singer that I loved back in the day, years ago, high school years, right? And her name was Biff Naked. And I mean, I love her songs. I still love it.
That's a hell of a name.
Yeah, I love her songs. I still love them to this day. If anyone out there is a fan of SSX Tricky, you also know that she voiced the character Zoe. But anyway, there was an album of hers one time where she was explaining that her beliefs are kind of where she believes that all of the gods and mythologies have existed. It's just who you pray to, right? So I was like, oh, that's kind of like a cool concept. And then when I came onto American Gods, that literally takes that where all the gods exist of every different mythology, I was like, that's amazing. So yeah. But I've been watching recently, I think I told you, Brittany, I rewatched 2018's miniseries, The Bodyguard, not to be confused with the movie that starred Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner in it, but the UK series starring Richard Madden. And I'm reminded of how good this miniseries is and how excited I am for Richard Madden to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because he's playing the character Icarus in the movie The Eternals. So I'm really pumped to see that as well, Brittany.
I feel like there's just so much coming out now, and I feel like it's good because we were in such a dry spell for so long that it's nice to have all this new content coming.
Well, certainly hope so. Because I've been hearing rumors, and I hate the rumors, that they may delay Black Widow again. And what? I'm sitting here saying, please just release it on Disney Plus. We cannot keep pushing these things because, everyone thought, as I said, everyone thought when 2021 happened that the clock would strike midnight and suddenly everything would be better. And it's not, obviously. So, studios are like, shit, what are we going to do? And it's like, no, just please drop it. So I'm sitting here crossing my fingers and Kevin Feige actually does that so that we don't have to wait any longer. We can see Black Widow. But I will say, as far as Marvel content, WandaVision is happening right now. WandaVision is very good. Episode 3 just came out, and it is definitely shit's kicking up into gear. And you have to watch it too, Brittany. I know you haven't checked out WandaVision yet, but you could already tell how important this story is going to be to the overall, theme of the MCU going forward.
I know. Now, is it a stressful show, or is it a fun show, or is it both?
it's fun right now, but you can tell it's going to be stressful because the thing is that, the whole thing is Wanda living in this world that Vision is alive in and them just being essentially a happy married couple. But that's not real. Vision died. We never saw him come back. So how is he
That
back
stone
suddenly?
never came back. Which, by the way, can we talk about that real quick? When they took all the stones back where they should have went, what did they do with Vision's stone?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but someone pointed out that remember in Infinity War, when Shuri was basically kind of explaining that there was a way for Vision to exist without the stone, but the first 3 episodes, like the thing with WandaVision is that it's touching upon like all the different eras of television, right? So in the first 2 episodes, it's all in black and white, and it's very like I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke sort of theme. The two of them are like in 1950s attire, and they're like, "Oh, my husband, oh, my wife," and then
Yeah.
and then in episode 3, they're suddenly in the 70s, and it's like Brady Bunch and shit like that. So it's interesting, but it's like the surface level is just them living as this like happy married couple that wants to be normal. And then the underlying is you could tell there's glitches in this reality. Like there's times where, Wanda and Vision are talking and Vision's like, I think something's wrong. And you see Wanda look at him and all of a sudden it's like as if the tape got rewound. And then Vision says something completely different that's more, what Wanda wants to hear. So it's like you could tell.
Oh, no. But if he's conscious enough in her mind to know that that's not right, it makes me curious.
It makes me so curious, and that's why I'm so excited to keep watching. And just to give you a rundown really quick, Brittany, because I know you've been like super busy with things, so maybe you're not like in the loop with this, but it's like, so WandaVision's happening right now, right? And just to give you an example, WandaVision is loosely based on the comic book storyline House of M, which is Wanda lost Vision. Wanda creates a reality where Vision lives and fuck shit up. And that's also with this like villain into it, whatever. Anyway, so WandaVision's happening. Whatever happens in WandaVision is going to lead to the event in Spider-Man 3, which is where you see now all these different characters that are coming back from different Spider-Man worlds, right? And then whatever happens.
So cool. It's very it's ambitious.
Exactly. I love it. And so whatever happens in Spider-Man 3 is going to then lead way into Doctor Strange 2, where possibly Wanda could be the villain. So I will say that WandaVision is very important, I feel like. And you can watch it. I can help you watch it. I won't say it on air how I can help you watch it. I can help you watch it. And the episodes are very short. They're like 24 minutes each. So, you could break it up really quick. But, if they keep delaying shit, you'll have plenty of time to freaking catch up with WandaVision. But anyway, we're not talking about that today, although I probably could go on forever for American Gods and WandaVision.
An episode of just talking about whatever.
We do. We really do. We're going to put it into place. Brittany and I have been talking about it for a while, something like that. And I think we're finally going to do it because we could just go on and on and on. But this week's topic that we're doing is something that I'm not a sports fan. I think I've said this plenty of times. I was in a shit ton of sports as a child, and I have no desire to watch any sports of any kind today, right? I find all of that super boring. But I love sports movies. I don't know what it is, Brittany. It's like I can't watch football. I can't watch baseball. I can't watch any of that. I do like the Olympics.
Which is so interesting for you. Like, I'm like, huh?
But you know why I like sports movies is that I just think that they're always just so inspiring. So even though like they're attached to a sport, I'm more so concerned with like what gets them there.
It makes you just want to work out. Like it makes you want to be like, I could do that. I could get fit.
Yeah, I don't always think that way, but but I wanted us to do the top 10 best sports movies only because I think, as I said, a lot of these sports movies are really great. And also the Super Bowl is coming up soon. I don't actually know the actual date. I probably should have looked that up. But, the Super Bowl is a pretty big event. And also, I heard murmurings. Now, there's conflicting murmurings, but we were supposed to have the Olympics last year in Tokyo. And obviously that had to get pushed to 2021. And there are conflicting rumors that they may just cancel it altogether, although I believe officials in Japan are saying that's not true. It's still happening. But how? How are you going to still have the Olympics?
I know, that's like a lot of things. And you know what's scary, especially for sports, is I didn't realize even there's so much money exchanged with sports, it is like they can very easily go under. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like they're not super profitable because they do pay their players too much. Like, because it's like the NBA, the reason why the NBA always wanted really tall people, right, to play. But the thing is that it was making the sport too easy. So they're actually starting to go for shorter people to make the game more interesting again. And so I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, oh, are y'all going to be struggling financially?
That's really funny you say that because you all know that I love even though again I'm not a sports fan, I love the basketball player Boban Marjanovic. Um, and he's 7'4", he's quite tall, and I was reading that he doesn't get played very often. And he was in an interview where they asked him, did he think that tall people were being weeded out in the NBA? Because of that. And I've seen other things that also, back up what you were saying, where they realized it's not very entertaining if we have a whole team of 7 foot plus guys and they can take 2 steps and just put the ball in the frickin' net without even jumping. That's not very entertaining.
Yeah. Well, it's like freaking Shaq is tall AF. I'm pretty sure he could like dunk on anyone. Even
I
though he
think
doesn't play anymore, but you know what I mean.
I think Shaq is what, like 7'1", 7'2"? He's
I haven't
tall.
seen his girlfriend compared to him.
Oh my God, when he was dating, because I don't think he's dating Hoops anymore, but when he was dating Hoops, I think she was 5 foot exactly. So the height difference is quite disproportionate. Well, that's like that guy Boban. His wife, I think, is like 5'2", and if you see pictures of them together, you're like, how does
You're
that
like, wow.
work? It is interesting, but yeah, it's funny because I don't know about you, Brittany, and you can tell me, but I mean, my family is big into sports, right? I mean, they love football. They're all Giants fans, except for my cousin Danielle, who's a Jets fan, which, that'll causes some, friendly tension. But, my grandpa watches baseball. My grandpa loves hockey. He's a huge hockey fan, which I do one day would love to go to a hockey game just because I hear that it's so entertaining to go to. Um,
It's better
Go
to
ahead.
watch it in person than it is to see it in television.
Yeah, that's what I always hear when it comes to, say, hockey. And I will say that I feel that way too about not basketball, sorry, baseball.
I
Um,
love baseball.
Well, I was going to say that when I played sports when I was younger, baseball was the sport that I actually liked playing the most out of all of them, and the one that I felt I was good at. And I don't necessarily like watching baseball on TV, but I've been to Yankee Stadium like probably 10 plus times, and I enjoy it then in that setting. So it is one of those things where you have to be there in person.
I can get that. Like, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But your family is a fairly like sports friendly people, right?
Well, yeah, because, it's like my little brother does football all the time, and it's like, and they're really into football. But for me, personally, I just really liked baseball growing up. But I think it was also easier for me to understand as a kid. While football was like, you have this going on, you have this. I'm like, I don't know what, it's all
Can
these
I
words
tell
I don't understand.
Can I tell you, I still don't understand football.
Okay,
Not
me neither.
not that I watch it ever, but I've been to a handful of Super Bowl parties, and even though I'm mostly paying attention to the commercials and the beer and the food, you do end up watching the game a bit, and I still have no idea what's happening. But to me, baseball's super simple, right? You hit the ball, you try and run around the bases, but you could get tagged out, right? It's like
Yeah,
so simple. And in a sense, I think basketball's a little simple. They of course have their little, complications too, but football just to me seems so confusing.
I know. My dad must want to kill me sometimes when we're watching football, and I'll be like, "What's going on? Why was that important? What's this doing?" And he's probably like, "Gosh darn it, Britt, you got eyes, use them."
But,
Uh,
sports really are universal. I believe soccer, called football in other countries, is probably one of the most universal games. So, I mean, sports brings people together. And yeah, so we're doing the top 10 sports movies this week. I think it's going to be fun. Of course, I do kind of chuckle that it's like two real, because I'm not a sports person. I don't really believe you are, although you just said that you like baseball, but I don't hear you talk very much about sports.
I know. It's not something like I seek out, but it is funny. It's like I do like sports movies. I
Yeah.
do like sports movies, but my only problem is I'm like sitting there. I'm like, man, some of these I haven't watched in so long. So if I ever flounder, Tia, catch me.
It's perfectly fine. But before we get to the list, you know that we always have to give our friends over at Stranger Damies a shout out by Anthony, Mark, and Dan. It's a real play D&D player podcast. So Dungeons and Dragons are super popular, guys. I mean, it's been around for decades now. If you love Stranger Things, you know what I'm talking about. They do their show every single Wednesday. You can find them on Twitter and Instagram at Stranger Damies. They just love what they do. I know that they spend a lot of time thinking about I don't know the actual technical terms, but you know what I'm saying, like the Dungeon Master, and they come up with the campaigns and all that. I know that
Oh, D&D.
yeah, and they spend a lot of time thinking about that, and it's a lot of fun. I know they enjoy doing it. So make sure that you check them out. They're great people, and you can also check out their main channel, Main Damie, which also has their other podcast called They Call This a Movie, which is fantastic. They're just great. If you love D&D, if you love Dungeons and Dragons, and you want to listen to a podcast where just these three guys just have a shit ton of fun doing it, make sure you check them out, and make sure you tell them that Tia sent you. So yeah, please check them out. That's awesome. Brittany, let's dive right into this frickin' podcast. Start us off with your number 10 on our top 10 best sports movies.
I'm gonna go real quick with because I don't want to put it too far on the list, but because I've seen it a million times and I love it, but I do feel bad that the guy it's about is kind of like he's not a huge fan of this movie, and I'm gonna go with The Blind Side, which I'm sure you've seen this too.
So I've seen it once, and of course it's very good. I very much enjoyed it, but I will have to probably lean on you to explain it more.
Because The Blind Side is about basically the Tuohys are this family, and they're a rich family. They're a rich white family, and their daughter goes to school, and I think she's in high school, and Michael, the main character, he has been in foster care, and he ends up, he's at the school. And, well, I'm trying to just, like, kind of skip through it because I'm sure plenty of people have seen it. Basically, they end up adopting Michael. But the thing is they start realizing that Michael is really good at football. And it does, like, and they're big football fans. And I think, like, they're huge fans of they live in Texas, right? I think that was the thing is they wanted him to play for Texas because that was their football team, something like that. but they weren't going to push him. And Michael is just very sweet. He's a very large man, especially at that age, even though he's in high school. But they end up adopting him. But it does raise the question, where they do get investigated, because there can be issues from a white family adopting a black child, because some people believe that that they're only doing it because he is good at football. And so that was like one thing. I think the guy that it's about, Michael, I think it's Orr. I was trying to like look at his last name.
I believe it's Orr as well.
And I think what he didn't like about the movie is that they did make him very timid, almost very soft-spoken, almost like meek. And I think he was just basically like, hey, I wasn't like that. It wasn't so like, oh, I'm just so quiet. I'm just a quiet soul. But I did really enjoy the movie because it was kind of like, I always love movies where I think it was like that they almost like insinuated that he had never touched a football before that point or something like that. And that like, he was like, no, I did, which somebody will have to correct me on it. But I just like always a movie where there's a character who has had a rough life and they're really skilled in football. And that, just them learning themselves, learning how good they are, and everybody just like that shock and awe when they first play and they're like, oh my God, did you see him? Those kind of movies. And I do love movies where like, you're adopted by another family, very like people realizing how I don't know how important it is. And I think it's like, for me, it's like, my cousins are adopted. And so I love adoption movies, like, because like families finding each other, even though they were not particularly like born from each other, and how much it can mean. Because it's like, me personally, I would love to adopt. And so I do love movies like that. But, there was something else I was going to say on it. Oh, and also Miss Tui, whenever like, she has this freak out moment on like her quote unquote other like rich friends that are basically like, oh, are you sure you trust Michael around your daughter? And she's like, what's that supposed to mean? Because basically,
I do remember that. I remember that scene.
Because they were racist and thought, just because he was black that he shouldn't be trusted around her daughter, and her having that moment where she like completely cuts them off. Because, so I did really like that part of the movie, too. But I've probably seen this movie in school a million times, Tia. In high school, where anytime the teachers had a time where they're like, oh, I don't really want to teach, let's just watch a movie. It was always The Blind Side, Tia. The Blind Side. Teachers are obsessed with The Blind Side.
Whatchamacallit? So I only saw The Blind Side once, but the one scene that really sticks out to me was, and I hate that there was this whole, not anything bad towards the movie, but I hated that there was this whole underlying of, can Michael be trusted? Because I feel like that was there for a while in the movie, not just say with the daughter scene, right? But the moment that I think really just kind of squashed maybe those negative thoughts in Sandra Bullock's like mind, her character's mind. Remember the scene where Michael was driving and he had the younger brother in the passenger seat and he got into a car accident, right? Yeah. And I think like that was a big hoopla over that or something. But then they realized that there were I guess burn marks on Michael's arm from where he put his arm over the younger child so that when the airbag deployed, it hit his arm, pretty much showing like, he cared about him because his first reaction was to put his arm over, that's like something a mom does, right?
Yeah,
when you're driving and they like
move. Mom has done that to me so many times.
Oh my God, me too.
Your mom did the same.
Oh yeah, my mom has done that like all the time. She probably does that now.
Thanks, Mom.
But I'm just saying that like that scene stood out to me because I think that was a scene where it clicked that Michael cares about this family and Michael, cared about his younger brother. So yes, he got into a car accident because maybe he was younger and just learning to drive and blah, blah, blah. But his first reaction was to make sure that his younger brother was okay. And I think that scene stood out the most to me in The Blind Side.
I don't know. It's just like if you don't, it's one of those movies that if you don't look overly deep into it, it's like a very good movie just to like sit and relax with your family and feel good. But there's definitely things you could say about the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I didn't know that the real Michael disliked the movie.
I think he just liked the direction they took it, like just the way that they made him seem in it.
He did seem very meek. I do remember that he was very soft-spoken in the film.
Because if you see the guy in real life, because I think I've looked him up before, because I was like, oh, I wonder what his life has been like. I think like he does seem like a very like excited person, like very boisterous.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, I'll have to look more into it, and somebody can correct me when they hear it. I'm trying to remember. It was like people could definitely criticize the film, but at face value, it was, I don't know. I enjoyed it. But then again, I haven't watched it as an adult, but I've watched it a million times as a kid.
Yeah, and you are like so allowed to like it even if maybe it wasn't the most accurate, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's a movie, even though it was supposed to be, almost a telling of a real person, not almost, but telling a real person, that still doesn't mean that, you're not allowed to like it just because maybe it got some things wrong.
Yeah, and I also really, really like, what's her name? I can't think of it right now.
Sandra Bullock?
Yes, I love Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, I love her too. I mean, there's not really...
They did say that they really liked about the movie, The Family, was like that Sandra Bullock. They felt like she was spot on.
I think I like most of the movies that she's in.
That one movie with Scoot McNairy.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Oh my God, what was that? Our Brand is Crisis. That was great. But she's also been, in a ton of movies. I mean, the movie that she was in where she played like a drug addict or an alcoholic and like Steve Buscemi was in it. I mean, that was great. She was in this funny comedy a few years ago with Melissa McCarthy. I just think she's neat. So
She's neat. I feel like that's something a mother says.
Yeah. I like her, I think she's good, They
You
probably
think she's neat?
I think she's neat, but great way to start off the list. I'll get the next one. So mine is like so not a serious one at all. It's probably a really stupid one, but I don't know why I love this movie so much, especially when it came out. I don't know if I like it now because I haven't seen it in a few years. So maybe it's one of those things where it needs to stay in my mind as like a funny ass movie, but it is a sports movie, but it's a comedy really. And you're going to laugh. It's Talladega Nights.
Oh my God, that's such a good way. It's technically sports.
It's technically sports.
Technically sports, Tia.
We didn't say that there was any sort of stipulation where it had to be a serious movie for this.
Go ask any Southerner if NASCAR is a sport, and they'll tell you yes, Tia. So I'm here for it.
My dad loves NASCAR. It doesn't make sense. We live in New York. I don't know why he's obsessed so much with it, but he loves NASCAR. For years, he kept trying to get me to like go down to NASCAR with him, and he's like, "You got to just go to a race." And it's like
your dad liking NASCAR.
It's like, just so weird.
Your dad's an interesting character.
Yes, but anytime I think of NASCAR, I think of the comedian. What was his name? The guy with the puppets who was like, "They're making a left turn."
Oh my God. I know you're talking
Jeff Dunham or something like that.
Jeff Dunham, yes.
Yes. But anyway, so go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, remember when I feel like they're in this day and age I haven't been able to watch comedians as much, and I feel like there was a time with like Larry the Cable Guy and all of them, like all those were so big, and now you don't hardly hear about any of them.
That is very true. By the way, I loved those guys. The the Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy. I loved
You
all
might
of
be
them.
a redneck
You
if
might- Oh my God, I thought they were so funny. The Jeff Foxworthy had, you might be a redneck if your family tree doesn't have any branches.
oh shit. Of course the fucking New Yorker likes the fucking redneck. Get out of here, Tia. Get out of here.
Oh my God. Anyway. So Talladega Nights, it starred Will Ferrell, and I think kind of Will Ferrell in his heyday. And he plays this NASCAR driver, and he's like super just great at it. He's like the best NASCAR driver of all time. And he has this like friendship with John C. Reilly's character, and they're just like two idiots in a pod, if that makes sense. And
Shake
Will
and bake,
Ferrell,
Tia.
the shake and bake. That's what I'm saying. I love this fucking movie, and they're so rich and like they're so ridiculous. The scene where he's like praying to baby Jesus, and they're like, "Why baby Jesus?" And he's like, "When it's your time to pray, you pray whatever Jesus you want. I pray baby Jesus."
Oh my God, that movie. I probably watched it a million times with my parents. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. So, long story short, they're like this, the typical what you would think of a NASCAR driver being, right? And then you have Sacha Baron Cohen's character who comes in, who I think he's from France. And, you got to think of the times that when Talladega Nights came out, this wasn't that far from, say, 9/11. And why I mention that is, there was a time in world history for all you youngins that America went to war and France decided not to join them, which I never thought was that big of a deal, but people freaked the fuck out and they were like, we're no longer calling them French fries, they're freedom fries.
God, I remember that time. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my parents literally went to St. Martin where half of it is French, right? And literally having to, like, the French people there having to ensure, like, hey, Americans don't hate us, right? Like, that's our government. So, you have to think of a time that this was happening, right? So you have Talladega Nights, NASCAR, very American, very Southern American, and then you have this driver who's from France who is, a driver over there coming in, and it's just like the symbolism of it, right? A French driver coming in, and like he dominates the field, right? He's just so fucking good because I forget what they call them over there, like Formula One drivers, I think.
Yeah, I think so. They are like souped up. They don't go in circles. Well, they do, but they have like different kind of track. It's not an oval.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's a very skilled driver, and there's this one scene I love, like they're in a bar or something, and freaking I think Sacha Baron Cohen's character is saying, like, tell me one thing that, like, Americans actually have invented. And every single thing they name, his character's like, no, the French invented that. The Germans invented that. Like, everything.
Yeah.
So, long story short, Will Ferrell's character goes through this sort of existential crisis because not only is his biggest rival beating him, he's kind of washed up, and his best friend is now like banging his wife. So it's just like this
whole... They were treating his friend like crap, like not letting him ever win. They were supposed to be taking turns.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was supposed to be the whole point of the shake and bake, and Will Ferrell's character never freaking held that up. But it was so funny. So before I switch over to you, I'm going to tell you a few of my favorite scenes in this whole thing, right? The fact that his whole thing was with his dad, where it's like, if you're not first, you're last. And then his dad coming back into the picture, but his dad's the kind of guy that can never have like a nice life. He always has to stir shit up. And literally like calling the cops on his son to say that he has like cocaine in his car so that Will Ferrell's character will drive faster. Freaking, the end of the movie where the two of them just run to the finish line, not even race, is just so hilarious to me. And then at the end, when John C. Reilly's character is like, I guess it's time for shake and bake or something, and he's like, no, it's time for the Magic Man, or whatever he calls himself, and he goes, and El Diablo. And he's like, the other character's like, what does that mean, man? And Will Ferrell goes like, I don't know, it's Spanish for like fighting chicken or something. And I was just
Oh my
like,
god.
I
Fucking such, like, freaking, oh my gosh.
Oh my god, I cried so hard from laughter from Talladega Nights. I thought it was hilarious. So yes,
You make me want to rewatch it. I've been dying to rewatch it again, and now I definitely want to rewatch it.
it's just so great. I want to rewatch it as well. But what did you think of Talladega Nights, Brittany?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I still quote where it's like, I'm going to be on you like a spider monkey. Like, I'm pretty sure, and my little brother used to say that all the time, because obviously, you know, little kids are. And then also, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I still say that when somebody, like, says something where I'm like, you're going to jinx me, you motherfucker. It's like, that freaking, I don't know, it's just such a good movie. I think it's because it's, like zero stress. And you know me, I have enough stress in my life. I don't want to, I'm not a big fan of watching movies that cause me duress. So that movie, it gets me.
I just love the ending of it so much, where it's like they're racing and their cars all fuck up, and you're like, oh, that's the end of it. And it's like, no, they literally just start like running to the sound of We Belong playing in the background. It's so ridiculous, but so funny as shit. And this also, I think, was like during the time of when Sacha Baron Cohen was like getting really popular in America, because I believe Borat had just come out around that time, so people just wanted him in things. So it was interesting to see him play along with Will Ferrell.
Man, I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, no, that's the same guy. Whatchamacallit it? Yeah, no, that's definitely the same guy. But yeah, I love Talladega Nights, so I'd love if those who are listening also tell me if they love Talladega Nights. But Brittany, let's move on. What's your number 8?
My number 8. So you inspired me with funniness.
Okay.
I freaking love Waterboy.
Oh my God,
Tell me
it's
you've
so
seen
long since
Waterboy.
I've seen that.
It came out in 1998. I feel like that was like Adam Sandler like heyday.
Yes.
It's another one of those movies where you have the guy that's like never played football, but suddenly he's just freaking amazing at it. So, you know, so Bobby, who's a 31-year-old stuttering boy, which I'm kind of like using Wikipedia to help like refresh my memory. But so he believes that his father died of dehydration, so he's always having this thing about like, oh, making sure people hydrate. And he is the local high school. I think it's still high school at this point. No, or is it the college? Let me see. Either way, you know, he's the water boy there. And I think if their team isn't great, he's just kind of like dealing with it. No, okay, he does it. He does it for the University of Louisiana, because I think he lives in the swamp. But so he ends up like, I'm trying to remember that, like, what makes him just like run. Oh, he tackles him. Oh, because he has like this unbridled rage. Like, he's such a spoken boy. He's very like kind. But I think it's like when he has something make him snap, he has all that rage and he like tackles, because I think even at some point when he first tackles a guy, he feels so bad. That's why there's that point where Red, the coach, that's like seeing that he's so good, is like, he's like, oh, you know, you got to really like tap into that. And he starts seeing that coach's face everywhere where he's like, water sucks. It really, really sucks. And he's like, no. And it's like, he's like, Gatorade. I don't know if you remember any of that. But he starts just like, and like trying to say Gatorade was better. But basically, for him to be able to go to school there, he needs to go to college. But the thing is that he's supposed to not be the smartest kind of guy, which I have to be careful saying that, because it was a different time for probably what they were trying to imply about him, if that makes sense. And so, like, but he's just so funny, so soft-spoken. But his mom is like, women are the devil. And it's like, why are alligators so mean? Because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. And I don't know, it was so funny. And him, like, his mom overprotective and, like, not wanting him to do football because she don't want him to get hurt. She doesn't want him dating women because women are of the devil, Tia. They're of the devil, which I think we can both say that is true. I'm sure.
Excuse you.
Okay, so you're just the devil. Sorry, I needed to make sure. No, but the whole movie is just, I don't know. It's cute. It's funny. You know, Bobby's great. Just seeing how, like, him being this, like, great football star, apparently, and him, like, actually getting really educated while he's at college. And it's, like, because he's really struggling at first, and he gets a girlfriend who's, like, a real bad girl, but she likes Bobby because, and, like, trying to, like, convince his mom not to be so overprotective. I don't know. The whole movie's just fun, and I love Adam Sandler. It's just great.
I feel as if that was a common theme in, say, Adam Sandler's movies, maybe back in the day, because that also kind of is like, say, Happy Gilmore, right? He's suddenly this actually really great, fantastic golf player. But so I have only seen Waterboy probably once back in the day, but I do remember a lot of the things that you were saying to me. Remind me, wasn't Kathy Bates the mother?
Oh, the mom was, let me see, his mom. I'm trying to see because I just saw it where it should have said it. Yeah, Kathy Bates is the mom. She plays Helen or Mama.
I love that those are the things that I remember. But yeah, this is definitely Adam Sandler's heyday. And I feel like Waterboy was definitely one of his like more iconic roles. I completely forgot that the whole thing was that what he thought his father died of. Like, what the hell?
Dehydration. By the way, I got it wrong. The coach wasn't Red. It was Coach Klein because it was Henry Winkler.
Oh my God, it was I have to go back and rewatch that because Adam Sandler's old movies were the best.
I know, they really were. It was a different, like, time for movies where it was just, like, they were just so goofy. It's just, I feel like that's what we need a lot more of. But I feel like comedy's not been a big, like, seller lately.
No, because I feel like just as so you know how for a while horror movies really weren't that popular because it felt like they just had no new until maybe A Quiet Place came out and Get Out and all that. And so that kind of was like all of a sudden the reemergence in horror because people were doing it differently. Like Invisible Man just came out last year and people really loved it because it was a different take, you know? So maybe that's how it is with comedy where it's like, okay, we've like said all the things that are funny. We need to just maybe rework what funny is. Because, I mean, we do need comedies. We need to laugh. Things are hella
Uh,
depressing lately. We need some funniness up in here.
yeah, and that's why I wonder if, like, Will Ferrell we haven't seen him in a ton of stuff lately because it's just like, I feel like it's kind of like the reason why we right now are in such like comic book hero time, and now we're starting to go into the video games. I just feel like there's a certain time for each like genre.
Yes, exactly. But I love you putting Waterboy down. This is what I'm saying. Like, we didn't say anything about this list that had to all be serious movies, right? So we could put some comedies down. So I like this trend of the Talladega Nights and the Waterboy. I think it's very good.
I just love Waterboy. I don't know. It's just such a feel good movie where it's like nothing really bad happens. Like, yeah, they're stressful. Can you see the common themes? I don't like being stressed out, Tia.
I understand that. What I think we were recording already when we were talking about WandaVision, and Brittany's like, "Is it stressful?"
No, I think we did that part off recording and
Oh,
part
did
on
we?
recording.
Okay, well, yes, I know. Brittany doesn't like stress. But let's move on to number 7. Now, honestly, this movie should be lower. I mean, or hot, you know what I'm saying? It should be like more towards the 1, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want you to take it. So I apologize. So it's going to be Rocky 4. Is that on your list?
Not that one.
Okay, good. Good, 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 good. There you go. So Rocky
Have we
4.
seen the same movie twice? Like, in the same universe?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, okay, shit, yeah, okay.
Okay. To be honest, I feel like all the Rocky movies are good. I think the only Rocky movie that necessarily wasn't that great was Rocky 5 with his son. But as a so, I say this all the time. I grew up being, heavily influenced by my grandparents. They watched me a lot, and so obviously I watched a lot of classic movies with them, Rocky being one of them. And I really like the story of Rocky, but Rocky 4 to me, in my mind, is the best out of all the Rocky movies. So you have Sylvester Stallone's character as Rocky, right? And the whole thing is, at this point, he's been established, right, as a boxer. He's friends with Apollo, who was formerly his rival. We've seen all this, right? So that's the backstory. But, Apollo Creed is still kind of like a showboat, and that was his thing even in the first two movies we saw, right? He's like an entertainer, even though he's also a boxer, right? So he's doing like this event where he's supposed to go up against Ivan Drago, this, massive Russian. And you have to remember this is during like, the 80s. It's during, the post-Cold War era. It's when Russia and the United States were still having dick measuring contests and everything. So, very much part of the course, right? And Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren, it's like he's super serious. Even though Apollo is not sitting there, but he's like kind of dancing around. He's having fun. Because I think, wasn't it even supposed to be like a charity thing? Like, I don't even think it was supposed to be a serious. It wasn't supposed to be a serious match.
Also, we talk about how Tia has the hots for him.
Not Apollo Creed. What you call Ivan Drago? Yeah, 100%. I'm not even gonna sit there and deny
She's
it.
not even ashamed. She's like,
not even ashamed. Like, Dolph Lundgren still is brolic as hell to this day. Did I ever tell you? Apparently, there was a story where like, Ivan Drago's house was broken into, like, when he wasn't there, but the robbers like apparently saw that it was like his house they broke into, and they got scared shitless and left. I don't know how true that is.
That's
but that was just
fucking funny if it's true.
But anyway, in the movie, it's like Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago go head to head in a match that wasn't even supposed to be a serious boxing match. And what does Ivan Drago do? He punches Apollo so fucking hard that he dies. He literally dies, and like that's the famous line where like they're all sitting there, they're scrambling, and they're like, "Oh my God, what if Apollo's dead?" And they interview, and he's like, "If he dies, he dies."
It's like such a chilling sentence. See, I have such good feel-good moments with Rocky in general. Which, by the way, why do they always play Rocky around Christmas? Like that, play Rocky 4 around Christmas. Can we talk about that?
Maybe because it's like wintry. I don't know. But so at this point, Apollo Creed is dead. Rocky's friend is dead, and Rocky decides that he's going to train super hard, and he's going to go to Russia to kick Ivan Drago's ass, right? And you find out throughout the movie that, Ivan Drago is taking steroids. That's why he's so fucking brolic. They're like training super crazy and all that. And he gets to Russia, and I'm like speeding up things like a lot, right? But he gets to Russia and he gets into the frickin' ring. And again, there's so many great lines, like, because they keep going against each other. And Rocky's not stopping, even though like he, is probably in stature, he's shorter than Ivan Drago. He's less muscular than Ivan Drago. He's probably less strong than Ivan Drago, but he keeps going. And there's that one line where Ivan Drago's like, "He is not man, he's machine." Whatchamacallit, and so eventually Rocky defeats Ivan Drago, and like the victorious moment in the movie is the crowd, that's a Russian crowd that was previously cheering for Ivan, starts cheering for the American Rocky, thus, pushing the narrative even more that America kicks Russia's ass.
It's like, she's going to start shouting like, USA.
start singing the Star Spangled Banner. No, but I love this movie. I don't know why, because I just think it's great. I love Ivan Drago's character. I love the tragedy of it, right? I mean, this is Rocky. It's like it's a feel-good movie, but it's also serious. I mean, to have a character like Apollo Creed who is so ingrained in the Rocky mythos to be killed so quickly on in the movie and in such like a crazy way because you're like, shit, that was insane. So you have that, you have and I believe at this point Rocky had retired, so it's like Rocky having to like avenge his friend, going to Russia to do it. And crazy fun fact in this. So remember in Rocky 4, Ivan Drago's wife, like I don't know if you remember seeing his wife at all, but she had like short blonde hair. That actress, Brigitte Nielsen, who went on to date Flavor Flav,
Oh my God.
at the time of Rocky 4 was married to Sylvester Stallone. So I always think that's interesting when you have like a movie and the guy's wife is dating someone else in the movie, if that makes sense. It's
Maybe it's like the inspiration to get good. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess like I don't know if have you seen Clerks 2?
you are the one that showed me all the Clerks.
Okay. So in Clerk 2, the main character, Dante, is engaged to that one woman, right, in the movie.
Yeah.
And in real life, that's Kevin Smith, the director's wife. So I always just think that's funny. I don't know.
Did that? There's somebody else that did that, and every time I don't know, like actors go on a different level because they do sometimes some things that I'm like, I don't know if I'd be okay with that.
I think in Peaky Blinders, the horse trainer.
Yes, Peaky Blinders. That's what I was thinking of. Yes.
Yes, the horse trainer that Tommy ends up hooking up with is actually Tom Hardy's wife in real life, and it's like, and Tom Hardy was in the show. Yeah, actors are definitely on a different level because you're like, oh, here I am, there's my wife, and she's making out with someone else, but it's okay because the camera's rolling.
Oh my God.
And vice versa as well. You know, it's like, oh, there's my husband and he's kissing some other girl, but it's for the movie.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it's acting, but
actors.
But anyway, what did you think of Rocky 4? Again, all the Rockies are good. I feel like one Rocky they don't talk about a lot is Rocky 3 with Mr. T, which I actually thought was a pretty good movie. But I loved Rocky 4. To me, out of all the Rockies, it's definitely the best.
You know what's funny is I remember when the one was Mr. T the most because you're gonna laugh at me. I've never seen Rocky 4 in its entirety.
That kills me, Brittany. That kills me. It's the best Rocky.
I know it isn't. Like, Aaron says the same thing. My dad says the same thing.
Everyone says the same thing. It's a universally understood thing. I watched the H3 podcast, and they talked about how Rocky 4 was the best Rocky. It's a universally agreed upon thing. Like, that could honestly stop.
Oh my God, I've made her mad.
This could end a war. Like, all you need to do, like, if we have fighting countries, just get the leaders together and be like, which Rocky? They'd both be like Rocky 4, and they'd be like, oh my God, we're friends now.
We're not so different after all.
We're not so different after all. We both love Rocky 4. I'm just saying, it's the best Rocky. Continue.
Oh my God. Oh, look what I've started. Okay. The reason why I have not seen it in its entirety.
You love Russians. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you love big, scary Russians. This is a thing.
Call me out like that.
If you need to know anything about Brittany, she loves big, scary Russians. It has a big, scary Russian in it.
I know. I'm pathetic. I know, Tia. But my reasoning, okay, so really quick. The reason why I haven't seen it in its entirety is because, so my dad would always watch them, and I loved watching them. But when they would come on TV, they would always come on in order, right? And so we would have to go through the order, and by that time I'd either be asleep. So then when I was older, when I was in at my community college, you could do extra credit. It was in a class I didn't need even extra credit in, by the way. I just wanted to do it. Where we sat and had to watch. They said you had to stay there the entire time, but watch every Rocky movie in its entirety. But we got up to like the end of the third one, and they were like, okay, y'all can go home now. And so I never got to Rocky 4. But
still sounds like such an excuse.
Dying. I know if he dies, he dies, and all that. I feel like it's impossible to not repeat that quote when you hear it. It's just a thing.
To me, I feel like that quote is it's on the level of Arnold Schwarzenegger going, "I'll be back" in, the Terminator. Yeah. Like, it's on that. If he dies, he dies.
I don't know. I just love training montages, Tia.
Yes, that too. Oh my God. Rocky 4 has the most epic training montage with Rocky getting prepared to go to fucking Russia to fuck up Ivan Drago. Like, if you love training montages, it has the training montage of all training
montages. Watch him too while he's training, and like he has to he shakes them off because they can't keep up with him to watch him.
Yeah, something like that. It's just an epic fucking movie, all right? Like, I can't.
Well, I can go watch it in its entirety, so Tia will be off my dick about it.
It's so good. It's the best Rocky.
Oh my God.
It's the best Rocky.
He's about to go on the "he loved her enough to let her go" level.
I don't know. I just really respect what Sylvester Stallone does when it comes to the Rocky franchise. I've never really watched the Rambo franchise, so I can't tell you that. Which probably gets us canceled right now because people love. I don't know what people love more, like the Rocky or the Rambo franchise. I love the Rocky franchise more, but I feel like people love the Rambo franchise. But I don't know. I think it's really cool that Sylvester Stallone made his first script for the first movie while he was living out of a car or some shit like that.
Almost at that point, wasn't he?
That's why he did that porno, because he was about to be homeless. The Italian Stallion.
Jesus Christ.
All right, but anyway, Rocky 4 definitely is number 7. Brittany, what's your number 6?
But now that we're on this note, I'm going with Creed.
Oh, nice. Okay, so now I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
Don't you yell at me. You've never seen Rocky 4 in its entirety. All right? Don't you yell at me. All right? But I know. My mom and dad yell at me all the time because they loved Creed. And it's not like I don't want to watch it. It's just I've never gotten the chance to sit down and watch it, But it's I know somewhat of the premise. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like this is really what put, what's his name?
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. That's what was getting me. I was like, Michael Jordan? I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. Because that sounds like
the B in the
basketball player, right?
Not the basketball player. Just put the B in there.
That's why I was my brain got confused. Basically, he's the son of Apollo. But the thing is, I think he was the illegitimate child of Apollo. Not through who Apollo was married to in the other movies. And I feel like some people had issues with that, but basically he's wanting to become a boxer, but he doesn't want to rely on his name. And I'm going to cut through a lot of things just for the sake of not talking your ear off. Basically, he wants to make a name for himself without people knowing he's Apollo's child, right? And the whole thing is that I think he wants to go work out at so Apollo's original workout area where it was hard to get into, it's very closed off now. Not just anybody can come in there, which I feel like that was a part of the first Rocky is Rocky couldn't find a place to really work out or anybody that would really take him under his wing, right? Because he was just kind of a loose cannon, just street fighting at that point, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, basically not the greatest of events. So Creed, he ends up finding Rocky, and I think Rocky's the one that takes him under his wing and is okay, I'm going to teach you. He basically becomes a surrogate father to him, because I believe he gets adopted. So Creed gets adopted by Apollo's wife from the other movies, right? And even though he's the illegitimate son, I think she still was like, you're still his son. And, she still wanted to care for him. Because I think something is up happening to his mom where he's in the foster care system. And so he kind of grows up wealthier at that point. At least that's how I remember it. But there is a part in the movie that I love. Do you remember when Apollo and Rocky have that fight and nobody ever knew who won?
He's like, ding, ding.
That's like, spoiler alert, Rocky does say who won that fight, and he said Apollo won.
I love that. I love touching upon that.
Yeah, but it's just basically, it's Creed. I keep wanting to call him Apollo. Creed just wanting to make a name for himself without his father's name, because I felt like he also felt like if people are like, oh, this is Apollo's son, they would really lift him up and he wouldn't be taken as seriously, because it's like, oh, you're just going off your father's name now. So I don't know. I just love it.
No, I have to definitely watch it because from, it spawned its own franchise, right? It was so successful that now they can just do Creeds, right? You don't have to do where, oh God, as much as we love Sylvester Stallone as Rocky, it's like, oh God, this like 70-year-old guy still boxing. It just doesn't make sense. So instead, you go with someone like Michael B. Jordan to carry on the Apollo name, because it's almost like, whatchamacallit it? It's honoring, the character Apollo, and also kind of also putting respect to the name, right? Because even though Apollo was a very good boxer, he also was kind of like, as I said, a showboat and did a lot of like more not so serious things. So now you have like Michael B. Jordan's character who's like making a way of like, this is, he's a serious boxer. I mean, I think you're right that this movie franchise definitely did catapult him even further into the public eye.
Because I felt like I didn't know who Michael B. Jordan was until I watched this movie.
I don't feel like a lot of people did. So you have that. I believe Tessa Thompson is also in these movies, right?
Let me look real quick. I can very quickly tell you. Sylvester Stallone is Tessa Thompson, Felicia Rashad, Andre Ward, Wood Harris, and Florian Munteanu. His name's hard.
So Tessa Thompson, is the one who plays Valkyrie in the Marvel movie.
Oh my God, I didn't put that together.
Yeah. So there you go. And I heard that the second Creed is when Apollo Creed's son goes head to head with Ivan Drago's son.
Yes. God, I think even Rocky's like, you're going to bite off more than you can chew, kid.
Which that like made me really want to watch it, because again, going with the Rocky 4 theme, but I'm like, I got to watch the first Creed before I watch the second Creed. So I got to just sit down and actually watch it. And I know as soon as my mom hears this, she's going to go, yes, Tia, yes, you have to watch it.
Oh my God. I hear your mother's voice. Don't go against the family.
Don't go against the family. But no, I mean, I think this is great. I think that a lot of people would agree with you that Creed, like my parents say it too, but I heard a lot of people who were mad that Michael B. Jordan didn't get nominated for his role in Creed. Because he deserved it so bad. He deserved it so much. So, I mean, it definitely, it's a great franchise, the Rocky franchise. And it's like, how do you keep it going? Because again, you can't have it with Sylvester Stallone as, the person forever.
Old.
Exactly. So instead, then you just bring in someone new. And I think that Michael B. Jordan's a great leading person. And so better for him to lead a franchise like this. And he has a lot of possibilities to keep it going.
And I feel like there's such a tie to Apollo as a character. Yeah, I'm telling you, tell me you did not cry your eyes out. Because I knew. By the way, keep in mind, I had always seen the scene where Apollo dies. I just haven't seen the movie in its entirety. But crying whenever Apollo dies because he was his best friend. Also, when freaking Rocky's trainer, what's his name? When he dies.
Do you know how many times I've died in the Rocky franchise, right? I cried when freaking Apollo died. I cried when Mick, I think his name was Mick or Mickey. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was like yeah. And then his wife dies.
Yeah, I was going to mention that in Balboa, which I thought was very good. I liked Balboa because again, it's like Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, great. Rocky 5, not so great. And then Balboa came after that, right?
I hate the
And
one with the son. I haven't even fully
that's the
seen it.
fifth.
I just know I don't like it.
Yeah, that's the fifth one. It's terrible because he's a whiny asshole. But the sixth one was just called Rocky Balboa, or I think just Balboa, right? And that's the one where we find out Adrian's dead, and I was like, "What? You killed Adrian? Adrian died?
Adrian, I did you, Adrian.
Oh my God!" And he's like there, it got so serious. He's at the grave and telling her, I wish you could see it, and like Paulie is there, and I hated fucking Paulie. I will tell you, if there's one character
the
I
brother,
hated in the,
but my thing
I
was
hated
like,
Adrian's brother.
when he got jealous, and he's like, it's like, dude, do you want to like fuck your sister? Like, why are you like this?
Yeah, he hated that like Rocky was with his sister, and it's like he was getting jealous, and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, he was jealous because like also because he basically used her as like a freaking like housemaid.
Yeah, no one ever talks about that Paulie like kind of abused Adrian because
He
she was
abusive, yes.
she was like this really like timid, meek woman who did everything Paulie wanted her to do, and then Rocky came. He's like, "Hey, you're really sexy." You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of. But like Rocky not only made her feel like a woman, gave her more confidence. God, I gotta watch Rocky 1 again because Rocky did definitely help Adrian when she was being really like abused by Paulie. And you can tell that like dynamic between Rocky and Paulie has always kind of been there because, it's never like they were the best of friends.
I know, even though they're supposed to technically be best friends.
And I think, didn't Paulie even say, I feel like in Balboa, Paulie even says something to Rocky along the lines of like, oh, I bet you kind of wish it was me who went first and not her, but now you're stuck with me. Something like that. I think he even acknowledges like, oh, I'm the one you're stuck with out of the family.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I hate Adrian dying, but see, that's what I'm talking about. It's not just a boxing franchise; it's an emotional, heart-ripping out franchise. That's what this is.
No, I didn't come here to cry. I came here to see epicness.
Yeah, exactly, Brittany. No.
What?
Oh man. Okay, sorry. Let's move on.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm actually going to pick a movie that it's another racing movie, and it's a movie that just came out like 2 years ago, and I really loved it. And I think I even mentioned it in last week's episode.
Oh my God, I already know what it is.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Hell yeah.
I think Ford versus Ferrari is fantastic. I don't think it even matters if you're into racing or not, because I'm certainly not. And I just think it's a great movie the way it was presented. To give anyone context, the director behind Ford versus Ferrari directed Logan. And we all know how good Logan was.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, just to give everyone a rundown of the plot of Ford versus Ferrari, there was at some point where Ford, the company, wanted to go up against the Ferrari company to win at the, like, Tour de France, pretty much like their big race, like we talked before with Talladega Nights, like Formula One, right? So their big race that's literally say like 24 hours or 48 hours, right? And it's in a course and it stretches, and it goes across, it's like huge, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to find a way to win against Ferrari because Ferrari always won. And they're like, Ford cars are boring now. But we're supposed to be the staple of America. So we gotta do better. And John Bernthal's in it, and
of IBM, like with *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Yeah, like them trying to take down the giants that have always
Yes.
kind of been. So, you have John Bernthal in it, and at first he, is trying to get, someone to be involved in creating this car. So it's like they bring in Matt Damon's character to help design the car. So they're like, okay, we're designing a car to be super fast, but we need someone to drive it. And that's when they get Christian Bale's character. And Christian Bale, and this is all based on a real life story. Christian Bale's character really did exist. Christian Bale's character is like this hothead Brit, right? Who just doesn't take shit. He's like, oh, fuck off, with things, right? But he's an amazing driver. And you have this whole thing, like with Ford, there's this other character, BB, who hates the guy because he's like, he's not what Ford represents. And they're like, who gives a fuck if he's what Ford represents? He's the best driver out there and he can drive, this car. So, long story short, it's just this really amazing movie about, Christian Bale's character taking, the whole reason why he even takes the job is because he is a racer, but because he's known so much for being a hothead, not a lot of places want to work with him, but he still has to provide for his family. So he knows that this is going to provide really well for his family. So, so it's this whole like movie where there's also a tug and pull between, constantly like getting the car right, getting it where, he's allowed to race and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, spoiler alert, I'll wait 2 seconds for those who don't want to hear what happens in the movie, but I want to talk about what happens in the movie. So spoiler alert, you ready for this, Brittany?
I'm ready.
Okay. So they get to the big race and it's time, right? And so you find out with this race, it's like his character isn't the only guy representing Ford, in this race. But I mean, he's like badass as hell. He's driving, it's amazing. It's this great heart racing, blah, blah, blah. So at some point, frickin' whatchamacallit, blah, 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 blah. At some point, it's like, it's him and 2 other Ford drivers, right? So it's like, he could win, he could win. He could cross the finish line as number 1. And BB tells them like, well, he should slow down so that the 3 Ford cars can cross the finish line at the same time. It'll look great, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like he wants to win. Why is he going to slow the car down, And so it's this whole thing where it's like, they tell him over the radio where they're like, Matt Damon's character's like, the car's yours, the car's yours. Like, you make the decision what you want to do. And at first he's driving because he's like, he wants to win. But then he thinks about how, because the whole movie is like people pointing out like, you're so hothead, you only think about yourself, blah, blah. Like even his wife says it. And so he's like driving and he literally slows down. He slows down enough for the other 2 Ford cars to catch up, to cross the finish line. But then you find out that they don't count him as the winner because his car was just an inch behind the other car. So he walks away from that not being the actual winner, even though we all know that he was the winner, And then the really tragic fucking part about this whole entire goddamn movie, and this happens in real life, that the real guy dies in a test drive like a month or so later after that.
This dude just got like a rough end of the stick, Tia. Like
the brakes don't work. And this was something that they point out in the beginning of the movie. At some point, he's test driving, the brakes don't work. And he's like, we got to fix that. We got to work on that. And the brakes don't fucking work. And he crashes and the fucking car explodes. It's crazy.
I like they had to show that in the movie.
I know.
They just say, hey, and then later on, we're all used to like the 80s, like black screen with like the word scroll, and they're like, yeah.
Well, I was expecting. It's like you could end, because at the end, right, when he doesn't win the race, he's in good spirits about it, right? Because the movie also is a lot of like the relationship between Christian Bale's character and Matt Damon's character. They have great chemistry together, right? So it's
Yeah.
them like walking off together and like kind of just laughing over it, like, oh, so when's the next race, Like really like cool. So you're like, that's how you end the movie, right? Like that's how you end the movie, and then you black screen it and you go, unfortunately, the guy fucking died in a test drive afterwards.
You know
No,
what's really gonna push this home? We're gonna kill him in front of you.
I was like, wait, what? What?
You're like, I'm depressed.
You bastard. So anyway,
You killed Kenny.
so that's Ford versus Ferrari, and it is kind of cool because a lot of these characters, I mean, pretty much all these characters are based on real life people. Like John Bernthal's character is Lee Iacocca, who like in the racing, and I've even heard Lee Iacocca mentioned in other things where it's like his whole thing was he brought together like all these huge talent for, Ford, and that's like what he was known for. People are like, oh, you could be like the Lee Iacocca of this, So it's like he plays this character who at first, seems like he's just kind of like a regular worker there, but that like eventually he goes off to be a really big name, or like Matt Damon's character was a huge name in racing. So it's like, I loved it. And I walked away from that movie saying, it doesn't matter if you're into racing or anything like that, because I'm certainly not, but that's just a good frickin' movie. It was just a great movie that was so well done with such amazing actors. And the thing was that Matt Damon and Christian Bale were billed the same. Like they both were kind of like leads, but that movie was Christian Bale's. That movie was 100% his, like, and Christian Bale's done so many great performances throughout the years, and that's his movie. It's so good.
Man, I would say doesn't he actually go with Christian Bale a lot? Like Matt Damon acts with him a lot?
I'm not sure necessarily.
I'm a member
But
who's known for playing with one another.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have been in quite a bit of movies together, but Christian Bale and Matt Damon should certainly act a lot together. They're really good. I just, like, there's so many great things. Like, again, when Matt Damon, like, when in movies a line is, like, earned? That
Yeah.
line when Matt Damon says to Christian Bale, the car's yours, Ken. And I was like, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. And then you just cry, like you go to bed that night and you're like, yeah, it was. It was.
I love this fucking movie. It's so good. It's just insanely good. It's touching. It's, there's payoffs. And it makes you like interested in the automotive like industry.
Isn't it fascinating that there's a lot of movies we would not have seen if there wasn't someone we liked that was in it that we thought would be good in it?
Oh, hell yeah. First of all, again, John Berthol's great in it. Like, does he have a leading role? No, but he's fairly in it for a good majority of the movie. There's a really funny scene, right? Because in the beginning of the movie, like John Bernthal's character, Lee Iacocca, is sent over to Italy to talk with Enzo Ferrari, the creator and owner of Ferrari, to try to do a partnership with Ford, right?
Yeah.
And pretty much Enzo Ferrari roasts like the owner of Ford so badly, and even calls him, say, fat or something. So when Lee Iacocca has to come back to America and tell his boss like the reasons why Enzo Ferrari doesn't want anything, and pretty much whatchamacallit, he's like, there's something you're not telling me. And Lee Iacocca goes, well, he calls you fat, sir.
You're not telling me. It's like, well, you asked. You asked.
So to me, I just thought that was so hilarious, just that whole thing, because it doesn't start off right away focused on, say, Christian Bale's character. It focuses on why Ford is trying to defeat Ferrari, and starting with the fact that, they were making cars that no one was buying. They wanted to do a partnership with Ferrari, and Ferrari pretty much telling Ford to go take a hike.
Oh, man. I do want to watch. I like movies like that, but I also don't want to be depressed.
Well, I wasn't really depressed, but I was pissed off because again, the guy BB who worked for Ford, you would think that he'd want Ford to be freaking successful, but he disliked Christian Bale's character so much because he really felt that it did not represent Ford correctly at all. Because to him, he's like, we all wear suits. We're, these polished sort of people. And here's this guy and he's loud and he's abrasive and he wears jeans and, dirty shirts and shit like that. And he's not what we should have. And he tried to like pretty much stall things the entire movie when all of it was supposed to be for the benefit of Ford.
It's like he ended up like hampering more than helping.
Exactly. So yeah, so Ford versus Ferrari, number
What a dickhead.
4. Definitely a dickhead. Brittany, what's your number 4?
Let me see here. So that means I have 2 more picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. That's hard. Because I have one on here I'm holding near and dear. It's going to be my 2. Oh. Actually, I do got one. Wait. I just got to remember, like, the name for it, okay? Because I know what it should be, but it also the name of the company. Okay. Since you brought this up, I'm going with Happy Gilmore.
Oh my God, I love Happy Gilmore. Yes.
I love Happy Gilmore. I had such a good time watching it. By the way, this used to be my big brother's like favorite movie of all time. We would watch it religiously. Like he was obsessed with it. But I don't know. It goes back to like him playing these characters that have like this rage. But I think it's like I'm trying to remember because he ends up like figuring out that he's so good at it because I think it's like his mom gets like put in a nursing home or something, and like because they're losing the house, and I can't remember the reason they're losing the house. I think like he thought it was paid off, but it wasn't, and they lose the house, so his like mom has to go to a nursing home for a bit.
It's
like
his grandma.
It's grandma. Sorry, I can't remember. I'm just like, used to people having like older parents anyways, so I'm like, oh yeah, they're older, but that could be their mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so. But yeah, it's grandmother, and he thought like the place was paid off, and it turns out it's not. And the movers are getting him, and he wants to play hockey so bad. That's the thing. And I think that's also why he has so much rage. But it's almost rageful even for hockey. Yeah. And finds out that what the movers like giving him shit because he's like, oh, I could golf better than you guys could because they're like taking a break and just hitting a golf ball. And he ends up sending it flying so far, they're like, oh my God. Oh, I remember his mentor that has like a fake hand because he's like, oh, I reached into the water.
Isn't that the same guy who plays Apollo Creed?
Oh my God, it might. Let me look.
Yes.
I need to know. Let me see. Happy Gilmore, because the guy's name, it was Chubbs Peterson, but he's played by Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
And Carl Weathers also, let me see. Carl Weathers. Let me see. He was Apollo!
Yep, there you go.
He was Apollo. That's perfect. But yeah, so I was obsessed. The whole movie is just fun. And with between like him like, flunking out of being able to do anything with hockey because he's just too aggressive. And to see him in a sport like golfing was so funny. Like, because it's supposed to be calm and relaxed. And who's that one character that's always the asshole in every movie when he's like, I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast. And he's like, you eat shit for breakfast?
I love that so much. I know exactly.
I gotta see who that actor was, but the whole movie is just so...
He always plays a dick.
Yeah, he always plays a dick. Who was that? It was like... Sort of like the dude from Rocky Horror Picture Show always plays the villain.
Tim Curry.
Yes, I love him.
Love him.
He got so sickly.
I know. But go ahead about Happy Gilmore.
I was say, I was looking real quick because the dude, Christopher McDonald, he played Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, he's always a dick. Because wasn't he also in the weddings? No, that was a different guy. Sorry, different dick.
Different dude. By the way, Bob Barker's in that movie too. He beats
And
the
he's a
shit
dick.
out of Happy.
And he's a dick.
Oh, by the way, there's also like, so, when his mom gets put in the nursing home and he's like, oh, you look so happy here. And she's like, yeah. And the dude.
Ben Stiller. Fuck that guy.
By the way, I can't even find him in like the cast for that small part.
Really? That's so strange.
I know. I can't even find him in like the cast list.
Huh. Very
But
strange.
I don't know. The movie's just like, I just love movies of like people like turning out to be really good in a sport and then like trying to hone it, because that was like Chubb's characters like trying to teach him how to get better, which I think Chubbs ends up dying.
Yeah, he does.
Because he goes, look, I have both hands now.
No, the whole object was frickin' Chubbs got his hand bit off by an alligator. So Happy's like, hey, I found the alligator that, bit your hand off. And he opens up a box and it has the alligator's head. And it scares Chubbs so much. And he's
like eating his hand.
And he falls back and falls out the window and like falls to his death.
So messed up. So messed up. Yeah, because like the whole thing is like he's trying to get the gold jacket or whatever just so that he can like get the money to pay off the house so that they can like go back and live there and be fine. And I don't know. The whole movie's just so silly. That was like peak Adam Sandler.
Peak Adam Sandler. I love Happy Gilmore because I love how he never refers to himself as a golfer the whole time, right? He's always like, I'm a hockey player, even though he kind of sucks at hockey. And as you said, he's even too aggressive for the hockey rink. But then he becomes this essentially golf sensation and it's pissing everyone off because he's so not the type of golf player, right? And the whole thing is that his grandma, is going through foreclosure. She's in a nursing home with an abusive asshole. And then if you remember, Adam Sandler meets the girl and shit, and that's the girl of the dickhead, right? So he, I think, purposely like buys the home of Adam Sandler's grandpa that Adam Sandler's grandpa like built with his own hands, and he's like, I'm gonna have
it's the house they're losing. Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna have your grandma live in it with me, and like Adam Sandler keeps having those weird visions of like his poor grandma like being seduced by the guy.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so bad. But my favorite scene, though, is at the end, right? When they're doing the golf tournament. And the dickhead is such an asshole. And doesn't he, like, literally... There's something with that big guy, right? Like, that really big guy. And doesn't he, like, end up, like, putting the tee on his foot or something? I forget what happened there. But do you remember what I'm talking about? It was, like... Adam Sandler had all these like supporters, and they all hated the dickhead. And then like Adam Sandler's character Happy Gilmore had to make the whole while like the thing was on a car. It was a disaster. But anyway, long story short,
she had to play the ball where it landed, and it landed on that dude's foot.
Yes, but the guy like hated him because, he's such a douche to Happy Gilmore, and he was such a supporter of Happy Gilmore. He's like, hey, you don't do that to Happy.
By the way, I think they originally hated Happy because didn't the dude have like a nail in his head, like from Happy?
But Happy, I mean, Adam Sandler always plays like that character where like you hate him at first, and then you realize he has like the heart of gold. So yeah, I love Happy Gilmore. The long story of that is that Happy wins at the end, and he gets the girl, and he gets the house, and he gets his grandma back, and we love that.
Yeah, we love that. We love it. By the way, I still quote tap it in, tap it in. Like whenever we would play mini golf as a kid, we'd go tap it in, because he wasn't good at like just putting it in. He had to like, because he was just all about like the aggression. I still love him like fist fighting with Bob Barker.
I love him fist fight apart. And doesn't he start yelling at the things in the mini golf course? He's like, just go in already!
Yeah, because it's like trying to teach him how to putt through mini golf. Yes.
That movie was so great. I really loved it. Happy Gilmore, to me, I feel, is probably his best movie.
So good. By the way, I just realized that like Creed's name is not actually Creed. It was Apollo Creed. So his last name is Creed. I forgot what his first name was. I just thought his name was Creed.
Aw, Brittany.
Thank you. I got that epiphany like right in there somewhere.
I love it though. And I love you putting Happy Gilmore down. It's fun. And it is a sports movie because, you know, I guess golf is a sport.
Golf is a sports movie.
I love it. I really do. I'll get number 3. Now, before I get my number 3, does your number 2 start with an R?
No, it starts with a K.
I'm very confused as to what that is then. Okay, well, I feel...
One of your favorite TV shows right now came from this movie.
Okay, well, I still don't know what it is, but that's fine.
Oh my God. Are you blonde? Did you dye your hair? Are you blonde now?
Oh, leave me alone. But whatchamacallit it? What was I gonna say? Okay, well, I feel, God, I feel as if I can't not put this movie on, right? But I also feel as if it's been a long time since I've seen it. So you're going to have to like help me out here with the description of it. But I wanted to put Remember the Titans down.
Oh, I know of this movie. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
Oh, really? I thought like you knew this.
I've seen it once upon a time, but I don't remember it. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's perfectly fine. I'm going to pull up the Wikipedia to help me out here. But just to let you guys know, like when I think about sports movies, even though it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, it's like to me, this was the movie that showed me that it doesn't really matter if I like sports or not. This is a good fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like, so, and it also is one of my favorite Denzel Washington movies of all time. Like,
oh, I was in that.
Yeah, so you know, the whole point about Remember the Titans is that the whole thing was that it was during the time where, you know, segregation was just starting not to happen, you know?
Yeah.
When I should say desegregation then. I like getting tongue-tied this morning. You know? So it's like you have where you have desegregation happening, you have where Denzel Washington, who, you know, is a coach and he's black, going to coach an all-white football team. And obviously that starting racial tensions and all that. And during the course of the movie, he also then decides to start merging. Let me actually read the thing instead of like going out of my ass here. I'm just going to read like the first paragraph here. You know,
girl. I believe in you.
It says, you know, during Virginia, right, a newly integrated, it says, at the newly integrated T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria, Virginia, Herman Boone, a black head coach who was supposed to lead the black high school's football team, is assigned to coaching staff under current white head coach Bill Yost, who previously led the white high school and has been nominated, blah, blah, blah. In an attempt to placate rising racial tensions and the fact that all other high schools are whites only, the school district decides to change course and name Boone the head coach. He refuses, believing it's unfair to Yost, but relents after seeing what it means to the black community. Yost is then offered and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, boom, there you go. Anyway, my whole point here is saying that then so you have these two schools integrating and where now you have black students and white students having to play football together. And it's all just like Denzel Washington just coaching these kids and really just helping, you know, at least for them, obviously not for the whole community, but at least for these students, helping them to, you know, stop this whole racial tension bullshit, pretty much, right? To
Because did
integrate
the
with each
parents
other.
not want like him as the coach anyways, and they were like
Hell,
pulling their kids out?
yeah, hell no, they didn't want him as their coach, right? And it's like a super inspiring movie where it's like he breaks down these, racial tensions that like these kids don't even know why they feel this way, right? They're just taught this bullshit. And so then all of a sudden through the course of the movie, they just start becoming brothers essentially. Like they really start referring to each other as like family. It doesn't matter what race they are or anything like that. It's all with the help of Denzel Washington. It's like insanely inspiring the entire movie. And a lot
Well,
of bad shit happens too. One of the students ends up getting into a really horrific, car accident and all
does
that.
he
And
die or does he just not able to play anymore?
he's not able to play anymore. I think he gets like paralyzed or something like that. Again, it's been a long time since
He
I've
was
seen
the
this
bigger
movie.
guy, wasn't he? He was like I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big guy, and then he was also the, I think he was the white student who say was the loudest about not wanting the black students to be with them. And then he ends up the most, like referring to one of the black guys as his brother, right? And he even, I think, like breaks up with his girlfriend because his girlfriend has a problem with them being friends. It's like, again, it's been a while since I've seen this, but all I remember from this movie was just how utterly inspiring it was, the final game that they play at the end of the movie and the tribute that they do for the unity with each other, to show everyone that it's possible to be unified, was just so great. And again, all like orchestrated by Denzel Washington's character, and I think that Denzel Washington did a great job in playing this character who, was tough on his students, but like because he didn't want that tension. He forced his students to interact with each other, because he knew it was possible for them to be united, and it was just great. It was such a great movie. It, obviously really talked about the times that they were in during the time of desegregation, and it didn't matter that it was a football movie. It just matters that it was a super inspiring movie. And I remember watching it for the first time and I was like, this is a great movie.
I love movies like that because I was gonna say I think I have seen it, but it was at school, so I wasn't really paying attention because I was such a big book buff back then. And so I always was like, I would always be like, can I read instead? Like, instead of watching this movie. But so I feel like, I don't know, that sounds good though. I kind of wish I had paid more attention now.
Yeah, I mean, it says like while celebrating the victory, Jerry is severely injured in a car accident when he drives through an intersection against an oncoming truck. He's paralyzed from the waist down. So that sucks. But I don't know. It's just like it's really, I don't know. I probably should have done a better job explaining this, but I feel like it's been out so long that I'm hoping that enough people have seen Remember the Titans, and how good this frickin' movie is.
Oh no, I remember it being really good because I think at first, like as a kid, I was like, God, I don't want to watch a football movie.
And I think that's how I was too, because God, when did this come out? Let me look at what year this friggin' thing came out. In 2000. God, so I was 10 years old. I had to have seen it after that, but probably not that long after that, where I was like, I don't want to watch a football movie, but I watched it anyway, and I'm really glad that I did. Because I don't know, it was just like really good. I love movies like that are breaking down these, bullshit walls that should have never been there to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So I just love the whole idea of it. And I suggest anyone, I probably should rewatch this movie because it's been a while since I watched it, and I just saw it's on Disney Plus. So yeah.
I feel like maybe I will need to have to like rewatch it and really like soak it in. But I do remember the guy getting in the accident and being like just so upset, and I was like, I don't want to like this movie.
I just love movies where people at first don't like each other and then they come together and they're like family afterwards. And I think that's why I liked that movie so much because it was the ultimate of, such tension amongst people and people just being hateful for no reason, not even realizing why they should be hateful in the first place, and then interacting, with each other and realizing that, we as humans have more in common than we don't, right? And I
Yeah.
think that was a lot of what the message of the movie was. And, again, one of Denzel Washington's best films and one of his best performances in
He
my
was really
eyes.
good. By the way, speaking of really good Denzel Washington movies, The Equalizer.
Do you know I still haven't seen that? I gotta check that
He,
out. I know. Have you ever seen, speaking about him now, but who doesn't love some Denzel? We need to have a top 10 Denzel
yeah,
movies.
right?
But have you ever seen Training Day?
No, I haven't. You've told me about it, and I was like, that sounds like it stressed me out.
It's such a good movie, though. He plays a bad guy. And I remember when I was younger, I never thought of Denzel Washington playing bad guys, To me,
Yeah.
it's like everyone loves Denzel because he's wholesome. He's like Tom Hanks, He always plays these nice guys. So when I saw Training Day, I was like, oh, he's an asshole. And
He's a monster.
he was a monster in that. That's a great movie though. Him and Ethan Hawke play so well off of each other, and there's so many great lines in that too. And I feel like you would love it because you love Denzel Washington, but
I do love Denzel Washington.
you also love villain characters, so I feel like you'd love him because he is just like, as he says at some point, he is King Kong in this bitch, and he is like King
Oh, shit.
Oh, it's great. And Ethan Hawke is really good in it because I think that was like during the time where Ethan Hawke was like first emerging. You
Man,
know,
now I do need to see it.
you know who Ethan Hawke is. He played
In
in The Magnificent Seven, he
yes,
played.
because he's also going to be in that new Marvel movie coming out.
Oh my God, no, the Marvel show. Isn't that
So
exciting?
yeah,
He's playing the villain in the Moon Knight show. It's like, that's
yeah.
so
When I
exciting.
thought, I was like, me and Tia are going to be all over this.
Well, it's so exciting to see these actors again that you would say to yourself, oh, they'll never be in a Marvel film. But Christian Bale, Ethan Hawke, and I'm like, oh, no, Ethan Hawke's going to be great in it. I'm really excited for him to do that. But
We
whatchamacallit?
love a villain.
I just thought to myself, so Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke were in Training Day, and then they also ended up being in Magnificent Seven together.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's
Yeah.
true.
There you go. You should watch Training Day. I'm telling you. I give you a lot of movies you should watch, but you should definitely watch Training Day. It's badass.
Oh man, oh, didn't he make him like take drugs so that he will
Yeah.
like hold that over him?
Really quick, the whole point of Training Day, it's not a sports movie, so we can't put that on there. But
Just
Denzel Washington
take drugs.
Denzel Washington plays a seasoned cop, but who's, like part of the narcotics team. And Ethan Hawke's character is a new cop, and it's literally him training him. But Denzel Washington's a dirty cop. So he pretty much is giving like himself insurance that anything he does during the day that he has Ethan Hawke, so that Ethan Hawke doesn't like say tell on him. He makes Ethan Hawke do like crack. And he's like, oh, so anything I do bad right now, you can't go to our superiors and say anything because you literally just did crack as a police officer on duty in front of me, a fellow police officer. Even though literally throughout the film, Denzel Washington is bribing people, getting money, literally fucking killing people throughout the movie. But, he's like, but, you did fucking drugs.
Yeah, I feel like I'll take that. Also, crack only stays into your system for like not very long. So is it all taking course in like a day?
Yeah, that's why it's literally called Training Day. It's literally a day. It's just a day. But so much happens.
So,
So
and I guess like anybody would be like, when this happened? Why are you just now coming here? Well, I had to wait for the drugs to get out of my system.
yeah, no, literally everything happens in a day. Like at some point, like Ethan Hawke saves a girl from being raped, and like that gets touched upon later on in the film as well. I'll tell you about after we stop recording. But
Sounds good.
Train Day is awesome. Remember the Titans is awesome. Pretty much anything that Denzel Washington is in is awesome. I don't know if I've ever seen a bad Denzel role. And if there is one out there, I don't want to watch it because he's just perfect. So,
Oh
but
man.
what? We all agree we love Denzel Washington.
I love, but no, it just making me laugh where you're like, dang, there's nothing. He's the best. He's like, nothing could ever be bad with him. I was like, this girl loves her some Denzel Washington.
Him and Tom Hanks, they're MVPs.
That's
Give me
true.
give me a bad Tom Hanks movie. I'll tell you there is none.
Tell me one and I will tell you you're wrong.
Exactly. But Brittany, let's go down to the number 2. I'm interested because now I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm sure as soon as you mention it, I'll be like, oh
Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm an idiot, but you're not an idiot, but you get me. It's Karate Kid.
Oh my God! Cobra Kai!
Karate is a sport, Tia.
I know, but when you said K, I was like, what starts with a K? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And, oh my God, yes. For those who don't know, before Brittany goes on, Cobra Kai is like one of my favorite shows in the past like few years. I mean, I just discovered, I'm saying, a show that just came out a few years ago. I fucking love Cobra Kai. So sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So that's why, like, I'm seeing it where I'm like, Daniel LaRusso being kind of a dick. I was like, well, makes sense, but still. So Daniel LaRusso moves from New Jersey to California. So he's 17 years old. He's kind of like, he's not a troubled kid. It's just that, by the way, he does not look 17 in that movie because he's kind of short, and he looks really young. Yeah. So him and his mother, because I don't believe he has a father, or like his father walked out or died, I can't remember. They end up moving to California, but they can only afford like this really tiny apartment because first off, California is crazy expensive. Can we talk about that? Expensive. Well, he starts going to school. He's just kind of like going by. I think like his mom also wanted to get away because she didn't want him to become like a troubled kid. Well, so he ends up that's like why in Cobra Kai when his mom is like, I was a single mother and I still cook dinner every night.
Oh my God, she pissed it. Can I tell you though, she pissed me the fuck off when she said that kind of shit, like in front, like.
I know. No, I agree because I was like, dang, I was like, I don't remember his mom being such a dick.
Yeah, why did they make her like that? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Like that. Okay, so, so he goes and starts to go to school. Well, he makes friends with this cheerleader, and I can't remember the cheerleader's name, but you really think they're going to be together forever. But Allie, yes, they end up becoming friends. He gets the hots for her, but the evil. Oh God, what's his name? Give me his name real quick.
The main guy from Cobra Kai?
Yes.
Johnny Lawrence.
I remembered it as soon as like you were about to say it. I was like, oh yeah, Johnny. But so Johnny does not like that because that's his girl, and ends up beating the shit out of Daniel Russo. Ends up he starts bullying him pretty bad throughout the movie, and which we'll see. You see in Cobra Kai. I'm kind of going between Cobra Kai. He's like, this dude was stepping on my turf. I had to show who was hot. But it's funny because, like, there is some things where you're like, okay, I kind of get it. And he's like, and he also cheap-shotted me when I pushed him down or something like that. But, he does end up starting to get beat up a lot. Well, Mr. Miyagi is the handyman for that apartment complex. And he does see where Danny at some point is about to get just his whole ass beaten in, like totally caved in. And Mr. Miyagi beats the shit out of all of them. But the thing is that Johnny his dojo is Cobra Kai, and so he's a black belt. So it's like Johnny can't really do anything about like fighting back with these guys because they're all, trained fighters. But Mr. Miyagi single-handedly just beats all of them, and he takes Danny under his wing. He's like, I'm going to teach you karate, but he only wants it to be like a self-defense thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love Mr. Miyagi. When he passed away, I was pretty distraught about it too. I love Mr. Miyagi. You do find out he had like a Medal of Honor. He served in the war. I think it was like he was served in World War II because you got to remember this movie's in the 80s, and so he was already older by this point with this. But he served in World War II. It was during the time like Japanese citizens were being interned, which is fucking awful. I think it does explain in the first movie that his wife got interned, and also I think she was either pregnant with their child, but either way they both die in the internment camp while he's serving in World War II. But he gets the medal. Yeah, so sad. So it's just like you learn that Mr. Miyagi's led a hard life, but he's still like really gentle. The catching the fly, it's just all of it's so good. But he trains him. He wants him to beat Johnny. But Cobra Kai is very like no mercy. What's the Cree again? The no something, no mercy.
It's like strike hard, strike fast, no mercy.
Yeah. And so ends up going through. Johnny gets his leg hurt during the match because they fought dirty. One of the guys injures his leg. And Johnny doesn't want to fight Danny like that, but you do show that, what's the dude's name, the teacher?
Sorry, I had myself on mute. John Kreese is Johnny's teacher.
Yes, Kreese is like, take him out, and he's like, well, shit. Well, Johnny's legs hurt. But the only thing is, and this is my only hang-up on it, Danny pulls an illegal move. At the very beginning of the matches, like where they're about to start the tournament, they say no striking the head.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. And Danny swan kicks him in the motherfucking mouth. He fucking takes him out to you. And that's the only thing. And he ends up winning. Oh, I can't remember what the second one is about. It doesn't focus on Cobra Kai, but I think it is him going into other tournaments. I think he ends up going to like another country. It's really good too, but that's why I was singing, because only a man and a man's got to learn to take it. Me and my dad sing that all the time together because that's the music that plays when he's going through the tournament. But Cobra Kai is so good because you do learn that Johnny was a troubled kid. From his perspective, he wasn't just a monster. He was just like, this kid came in and was trying to take his girl, and like I'm at a Halloween party and he just like sprayed me with a hose for no reason. So yeah, I got to teach that kid a lesson. But then his teacher came out of nowhere and beat my ass. It's like, it's just so funny. It's just funny seeing the different perspectives on it. But I count it as a sports movie because they do go through the tournament, and it is him like on a quest to get good and beat Johnny.
Karate's definitely a sport. I will say Cobra Kai season 3 does follow a lot of what happened in the second movie, which I never seen, but I watched the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai without having watched Karate Kid, and I didn't feel lost at all because they do a lot of like clips from the movie
flashbacks.
They do a great job. So the season 3, I guess in the second movie, Daniel has to go to Japan, and he defeats a rival over there. And season 3 is really good because it's him going back to Japan for another reason, having to deal with his car dealership, interacting with people who and the same actors who are in the second Karate Kid, and
they're
even
them all back. Which I thought was crazy he didn't end up with Allie.
Yeah, Allie does show up though in season 3. I will say that. But
they thought that she would. I'm Team Allie.
I'm Team Carmen. I love Miguel's mom in Cobra Kai, so
I probably need to actually watch it happen before I choose a side, but still, I don't know. He was so in love with her.
Yeah, but you gotta watch season 3. Season 3, Johnny Johnny and Carmen, man. But anyway, this isn't Cobra Kai. You mentioned Karate Kid. So anyway, my experience with this is I had never seen Karate Kid. I knew about it.
Shame.
I'm just saying I knew about it, right? Because I feel like you can't not like live right past the 80s and not know about Karate Kid. It's integrated so much into our pop culture. People talk about it all the time. They did that god-awful remake with Jackie Chan and Will Smith's kid that like everyone hated.
It was so bad.
And so then you were the one who was, and so Cobra Kai came out, right? And people talked about it all the time. I have listened to so many podcasts where people are just mentioning it and they're like, it's so good. And you watched it, or at least you watched the first season and you were like, you should watch this. Johnny is awesome. So I decided to check it out. And obviously now I'm like a huge fan. I binge watched. I binge watched seasons 1 and 2 within like 2 days, and when season 3 came out, I literally binge watched it in one day. It's so good, and I will echo the thing that everyone says: it has no business being so good. I love it, and you know, you don't need to have seen these movies to watch the show because it does a great job in catching you up. But after I watched seasons 1 and 2, Paulie and I did decide to sit down and watch the first Karate Kid. Now, he's seen the movie. I haven't. And I will admit, but I'm not trying to burst your bubble or anything, I didn't necessarily like the movie. But I think that's just
what Cobra Kai. Fucking Johnny got into your head. Twisted made it where you couldn't enjoy it. You know what? You're dead to me.
No, I think the whole thing is looking, you know, maybe if I grew up watching it, it'd be different, but watching it from this lens where it's like, you know, a low budget, like 80s movie, like there are things.
I can't be friends with you. Did you call budget? Did you just call my favorite movie low budget?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to say it's like I'm not hating out too much, but Daniel LaRusso never truly really like learned karate. I didn't think he was very much a master at it.
The second movie focuses on him being really good.
I will say that as I was watching Karate Kid, I was trying to look out for the things that like Johnny was saying, but I will say that Johnny definitely remembers events not so correctly because Allie and him were broken up, so it was like there's that, and he did destroy her boombox, which by the way Johnny admits in the third season was wrong. But whatchamacallit, you know, but Daniel shouldn't have sprayed him with water in, you know, the frickin' bathroom. I disagreed with that. I did like Mr. Miyagi though.
I love Mr. Miyagi. He was so good.
I loved him taking Daniel under his wing. And that scene where he gets, because I believe he gets drunk, and that's where he admits what happened to his wife and kid, was really powerful for them, I feel like, to mention in the 80s, because, you know, I feel like it's only been till recently that, you know, American people want to admit that we did a lot of wrong things in former wars, right? And I think that, you know, the Japanese
saw us have German internment camps because freaking in the 40s we had a huge German population. You could have said the same for them, but we only did it to our fucking like Japanese citizens. So it's like messed up.
And so I was saying, I feel like the idea of the Japanese internment camps are like one of the most embarrassing things that we've ever done. So for them to like bring that up in an 80s movie where everything was like, you know, again, like as I said earlier, 80s was, you know, post Cold War. We're still having dick measuring contests with Russia. You know, the 80s were so like, you know, USA, 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 you know, and so for that. So anyway, but I liked that. I was happy about that. I felt really sad for Mr. Miyagi. And I loved his bonsai trees. It made me really want to get one. Sorry, go ahead.
I just literally love Mr. Miyagi. I just really liked him, especially growing up. And still, I want to take karate even as an adult because I wanted to so bad as a kid, but we didn't have any places here in Arkansas close by.
So I did take karate as a kid, but not for very
What?
long.
What?
Yeah, we have karate. We have karate dojos here.
Oh my
I
God,
told,
Thea doesn't tell me.
I told you when I was a kid I did a lot of sports. I can't tell you all the sports. There were a lot of them.
Just hoping something would stick.
I was in karate for a short time, but my problem was, I not to be weird, but I hit puberty at a very young age, right? Younger than most kids. So I got very tall at a younger age. So I was, say, too tall for the kids division, but then they put me in the adult division, and I'm a kid among adults, so you're not making friends. And the whole point of my mom putting me in something like that was so that I could, have a social life.
Bad. Why would they do that to you?
Because they're like, you're too big for the young kids. So I literally only got to a white belt with 3 black stripes on it. But anyway, my point is, I did take karate for a short period of time when I was younger. Whatchamacallit. No, there were great parts of Karate Kid. I laughed when Daniel caught the fly and Mr. Miyagi was pissed because he's like, I've been trying to do that for years, fuck you. And then Mr. Miyagi giving Daniel his car at the end. It was such a great relationship between Mr. Miyagi and Daniel that you see really affected Daniel moving forward in his life. And I love that Cobra Kai, say the series, really does their best to honor Mr. Miyagi. Because they knew
especially because since he passed away, in real life, it was kind of like their nod to him.
Yeah, exactly. But, Johnny Lawrence did nothing wrong, so. No, I love that you love Karate Kid. I will never tell you that you shouldn't love Karate Kid, and it did give...
You don't even try.
It did give way for one of my favorite shows of all time, Cobra Kai, which you yell at me. You still haven't even finished it. You're the one who even introduced me to it.
I don't need to. I watched the original Karate Kid and loved it. I've seen every Karate Kid.
Well,
don't cite the ancient text to me. I was there when it was written.
You should be watching Cobra Kai. You're the one who even introduced me to Cobra Kai.
I know, but I got obsessed with Hunter x Hunter, which was an anime, and I just,
Oh my God.
Things came.
But on that note, we are down to the number 1 on our top 10 best sports movies. Let's go through the list before we get to our number 1, and we have number 10, The Blind Side, number 9, Talladega Nights, number 8, Waterboy, number 7, Rocky IV, number 6, Creed, number 5, Ford versus Ferrari, number 4, Happy Gilmore, number 3, Remember the Titans, number 2, Karate Kid, and number 1 is going to be my pick, and it's going to be probably my favorite sports movie of all time, and you probably have never heard of it, but that's okay. I'm going to get the Wikipedia up just to help myself, just not make an ass out of myself. What'd you say?
I feel that. I do that sometimes where it's like, I love this movie, but it's been so long I can't tell you everything about it.
Yeah, exactly. So the movie is called Miracle. It came out in 2004. It's a hockey movie. And mind you...
Is it The Miracle on Ice?
Yes.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, it is a sports film that took place. So the whole thing is about the coach Herb Brooks, and the American hockey team won the 1980 Winter Olympics medal for hockey. And the reason why it was such a miracle is why they call it like a miracle is, first of all, I believe the sportscaster is the one when the Americans won, him shouting like it's a miracle, because for decades prior, the Americans could never beat the Russians. It was all about the Russians.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be like a team of nobodies, like just amateurs.
Yeah, so that was the great thing about this team, right? Is that, and this has never happened after that either. When you have an Olympic sports team, it's like you have to have these athletes who are in divisions and they're, freaking going through, and they get picked, by the Olympic division team, and they're, going through all these, other official sort of things, right? But for the 1980 Olympics American hockey team, they, as Brittany just said, sorry, my cat decided to try to jump up on the fridge and knocked a bunch of shit over. I apologize, everyone who's listening to that. Of course, right as I have the number one, Sunny, you really had to go there, didn't you?
Oh my gosh, well, you saying it was Sunny was all I needed to know.
I apologize, everyone. Give me 1 second because I want to make sure that glass didn't just break right now, because that would have been a disaster.
Kitties to step on it either.
Exactly. So anyway, as Brittany just said, the really unique thing about this was that they literally held tryouts for nobodies, people who have never been in the Olympics, people who were just regular hockey players. And what was interesting about the movie itself is that most of the players were actual hockey players. Some of them were actors, but most of the team were hockey players because they wanted the authenticity of making it look very realistic, Yeah. And so the thing is that, what's crazy is that you have all these players who are just amateurs coming in. They're from different schools. There's rivalries going on and all that. And pretty much like the coach having to tell them, like, doesn't matter what school you were formerly, playing for. You're part of the USA fucking, division now. And it was just like this whole thing of this coach, trying to get everyone to believe in the fact that, like, he knew what he was doing, because everyone's like, what are you doing? We have all these professional hockey players. And he's like, yeah, and none of these professional hockey players have been able to defeat the Russians. They all were so skeptical of him getting these amateurs to come in. And even you at some point thought that they weren't willing to put in the work because some of them were lazy. He gave them homework to do. None of them some of them didn't want to fill out the thing or anything. But it was like him just pushing them and them all coming together to fight against the Russian team who has won for decades practically. And it's just like, again, I sit there and say that people are probably like, what's the big fucking deal? And it's like, you have to, again, remember, this is post-Soviet Union era. This is a 1980 Olympics.
They're still in the Cold War during the 80s. It was probably right after the Cold War ended, like, just barely.
And all these things are, like, symbolic, right? Because you're fighting a war, or you're gonna fight a war. You're getting prepared for the war. That's what a Cold War is, right? And then suddenly your teams are playing a sport for the whole entire world to watch. At that point, it becomes just so much more than a sport. It's a symbol. Who can win? It's the same thing like there's a show on Apple TV Plus called For All Mankind. And, in real life, it was America who put the first man on the moon. But in the show, it's like, what if Russia put the first man on the moon? And it's like, all that's symbolic. In the end, it's like, what does it really matter who gets to the moon first, right? But it's like, it's symbolic. Like, oh.
Well, it's kind of like it was symbolic whenever, Hitler was so obsessed with, like, eugenics and, like, the master race and all that. And then I'm trying to remember his name, but then an African-American athlete beat his best people, and it, like, really, like, it really was
probably.
What'd you say?
It shook things up probably. It probably, like, really made a statement.
Things that it made him a public embarrassment of, like, with their whole, like, master race thing in front of everybody, showing, like, somebody, like, can be just as good no matter what the color of their skin was, and that was totally against what he was trying to put out there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I just love this movie just because, I don't know, it, like, you go through a movie and it's like you really just want them to win because they are, and it also goes into the whole idea of, like, an underdog, right? In general, the Americans were underdogs when compared to the Russians in the Olympics, especially in the hockey division. And then to have a whole team where you have all of these amateurs who aren't professional, really professional hockey players, and they're the ones to come together and defeat the Russian team. It just like it's what you want from a movie. You want to feel that feel good. You want that underdog story, and that's so it. And it's like this piece of history that people literally freak the fuck out over. You
I
know,
feel like we're so excited over it, but the Russian athletes
they're
are like
so
still like,
bad.
you remember that time we really sucked to fucking amateurs? Like they're probably like still salty over it.
But I was gonna say, like, my dad has the original, like, poster from the, like, 1980 Olympics that captured, the moments and everything.
Oh
He
man.
has that. And literally, I took my grandpa to go see this movie in theaters because he loves hockey. And so, like, this is such a big moment. And again, just super symbolic. And I just loved the movie. I loved how it was done. I love the fact that they got real hockey players to play these characters just because it's like you did get a sense that you were watching a real game. It didn't look fake or anything. And then also, I like the way it ended, and it's in the Wikipedia as well. So before the credits to the film, like the before credits to the film is dedicated to Herb Brooks, who was played by Kurt Russell, and he was the real life coach of the team. He unfortunately passed away right before principal photography for the movie was finished, and at the end of the movie it states he didn't see it, he lived it. And I just love that.
Oh, that's so good. That's so sad though.
It's so sad. It hit me right in the feels. I remember when that happened in the movie. I was like, oh my God, I can't. So, yeah, I love Miracle, and I think that it is my favorite sports movie to date. Just the way it was crafted, the way it happened. I loved it. And it got me, like, really excited to learn about the 1980 Olympics, specifically that, and the fact that they've never done it since, Brittany. They never have had just tryouts where you can come and try out for the team ever since then. Ever since after that, it's heavily regulated who gets on the American team for any of the sports in both the Winter and Summer Olympics. So it's like, and you know how much I love the Olympics too. So it's super interesting that this one time they were like, let's do something different. Let's, hold tryouts. And they're the ones who defeated the Russians.
Which, by the way, can we talk about two things? One, isn't it so funny? Remember all the shit that Michael Phelps got for smoking weed? And like,
Stupid.
nowadays we're like, so there's so much worse things you'd be doing. But now we actually had, like, with the everything that happened on recently with the Capitol, and it's like there was a freaking Olympian there, like an ex-Olympian.
I didn't hear about that. That's yeah. When that whole Michael Phelps thing happened, they were like, he's gonna have to give back his medals. I'm like, why? He just smoked pot. Like,
yeah, it's not like they gave him a freaking, like, made him swim faster.
At some point, like, okay, this is going to be really like a bold statement here, but at some point, like 98% of the people who were playing professional baseball were on steroids.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's in that world. It's kind of like bodybuilding. It would be very hard to ever find a bodybuilder that has not taken steroids.
Well, I mean, they proved like Lance Armstrong was on steroids, and that's how he won all of his medals. So I understood asking him to give his medals back.
What about Arnold Schwarzenegger? He was like, he was juicing back in the day.
Do you see how brolic he was? I'm sorry, that doesn't come naturally. I was going to say, if anything, it's impressive that Michael Phelps won all those medals by smoking pot. Wouldn't that make you lazy? I mean, to be a swimmer, you have to be really dedicated. And it's like, damn, he was smoking pot while doing that. Good for him.
Yeah, I feel like not want to do anything, and he's over here winning like Olympic gold medals. Shit.
Michael Phelps didn't stop. I remember every time I saw him in Atlanta, I was like, oh, there he is. He's taking home the golds. He was just sweeping that shit.
I was like, Oh, freaking Ansley back in the day had the biggest crush on Michael Phelps.
I think most people did. I know I did.
Oh my gosh.
What? An Olympian. He's the best of the best.
Oh, man. By the way, I read a thing that one of the few things people don't know is freaking all those Olympians are having so much sex at the Olympics.
I could imagine.
They say like it's so bad they have to make sure like they have like a bunch of condoms on hand and in those like places that they're staying because you have so many people mingling, and also you have people that connect over the fact that they're like Olympians, you know?
It has to be a combination of like so many other things. It's like, they're in a different country. They're all like merged together. It's like mingling, as you said, but then it's like, they're all like hopped on that like alpha energy because they're all like, dominant athletes. So it's like, I could imagine. It's like a breeding ground.
A breeding ground. Oh my God.
But people are like, what the fuck? Brittany, before we wrap everything up, did you have any honorable mentions that you didn't get to put on the list?
I think I have like Bad News Bears. Let me see what else I had on my list. I think that was about it. I had like Bad News Bear, Southpaw, and I was going to put the original Rocky, but I felt like we focused so much on the Rocky universe, I was like, I'll leave it be.
I'm sorry. You could have still put it.
No, I just didn't want it to be Rocky on everything, so
realistically, we could have just did the whole top 10 of just the Rocky franchise alone.
I wish there was, is there 10, like if there was 10 Rocky films, we could rank the best and the worst.
Well, we could definitely do like top 10 like moments from the Rocky franchise. I'd be down for that. Let's put that down. But as far as my honorable mentions, I had The Fighter, which was really good with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. Hardball. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's with Keanu Reeves in it.
I don't think I have.
It's really good. I liked it a lot. And I had Grudge Match. Remember that movie with Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone? They're older and they're fighting against each other. John Bernthal was in it.
One with John Bernthal?
Yeah. I thought it was a good movie regardless. I really liked Grudge Match. Yeah, exactly. I love that movie. It was so fun.
What did he say to that one person? He's like, your mom was so good, I named my son after
after her best move or something. Oh my God, it was so ridiculous. I loved it. Robert De Niro was great. Yeah, I love that movie. I thought Sylvester Stallone was really good, and he, I don't know, it was good. But anyway, for those who are listening, please let me know and Brittany know what your favorite sports movies of all time are. You can find both of us on Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter is Tia Fabi TC_Stark if you can't find it that way. But you could also follow Geek Vibes Nation on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere. Follow us, geekvibesnation.com. Just let us know what kind of sports movies you like the best. I'd be really interested in hearing your opinion. But Brittany, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you could always find me on Twitch at Itty Bitty Brit. Been playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, one of my favorite games of all time. It's pretty goofy. It didn't age well, but I still love it. I keep calling the rings coins. And so, yeah, I'm not playing Mario. And you can also find me at Twitter at Itty Bitty Brit 0. Or I just started my YouTube channel, and I should have a new YouTube video out by tomorrow, but that's under Itty Bitty Brit 2, all lowercase, because there's another Itty Bitty Brit, but it's like uppercase I-I-B. Oh, wait, I-B-I. I-B-B. Oh my God, I can't speak.
Well, anyway, regardless of that, make sure that you check out Brittany. She is a very dedicated streamer who puts in a lot of hours for your entertainment, so make sure you check that out. And in general, just make sure you check us out. Let us know if there's a top 10 that you'd like to see from us, and I guess we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.
Bye.